Welcome to the Take 10 Leadership Podcast, where leaders and difference makers share stories that inspire us to serve boldly, strengthen community, and lead with love. Today, Cameron sits down with Kristen Howard to discuss the powerful connection between laughter and mental health. Here's your host, Cameron Corder.
Hello, I'm Cameron Corder, and welcome to another episode of the Take 10 podcast. I'm joined today by Kristen Howard, YMCA of the Southampton Roads. Today we got a great topic, a very important topic, and going to share about mental health and talk about mental health, but the importance of laughter in mental health and what role it can play to help us. So, Kristen, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that it worked out.
Yeah, tell us your title. What's your role with Southampton Roads?
I'm the Vice President of Public Relations and Communications.
All right, that's great.
Yeah.
So one of the things people watching this may not know is that Kristen also is a stand-up comic, which gives me a little shiver there, a little fear there. So tell us that story. How did you get into that, or did that get you to the Y? Tell us how the Y and stand-up comedy blend together.
Of that. Okay, so all right. So how I got into my field really was growing up, I was always getting into trouble for talking too much. And I really liked words and reading and writing and all of those things. And so it kind of naturally happened that I got into communications and I like to talk to people. And so public relations came out of that too. How I got into stand-up comedy though was I'm a veteran. I was in the military and I got out of the military in a kind of a traumatic way that really affected my mental health significantly. And I was at home. I had just had my fourth baby. I was, not feeling great really about anything in my life. And my husband he had gotten this email. He was still active duty. He had gotten an email that was about these stand-up comedy classes for veterans. And he emailed it to me and he said, "You should do this." And right away I was like, "That's stupid. I'm not doing this." And then after a couple of weeks, I think my kids just broke me down and I was just like, I need to do something for myself. And that sounded fun. And I have always been somebody that takes classes and does things like that all the time. So I signed up, I got in, I did it. I had an aptitude for it. So I continued doing it. And now I work for that same nonprofit that offered those classes. I now teach with them and I've been teaching with them since 2018. It's my side hustle.
Yeah. So what's the connection of stand-up comedy and then the military, the mental health you were going through? How does that work? What's the dynamic there?
The dynamic really is, so stand-up comedy and what I do professionally as a communications professional in the Y is it's all about storytelling. And it's about being able to use words, either spoken or written, or even visual storytelling to tell a story. And when I first started doing stand-up, it was through a nonprofit that's for veterans. And so I was very focused on telling jokes about my military career. And I wasn't ready to talk about it yet. And so the thing that really resonated with me was I heard from a writing teacher of mine. He said that when you have a story in your head and it just keeps like running over and over in your head, it owns you. But as soon as you put it down on paper, you own it. And seeing it that way really has helped me to own that story and to be able to control it, to be able to share it with people, not share it with people, and I actually use that with other people too, when I'm getting them to share their stories with me now in my job, that they are controlling their story and that they have that power to own their story.
Man, that's powerful. That's great. So many comedians draw on personal stories And I guess that's being vulnerable, and then there's the self-deprecating humor. Is Are you saying that maybe having the ability to laugh at yourself is a great way to help yourself, maybe?
Well, absolutely. Being able to, that's all again part of owning it, right? If you,
Yeah.
and it's not, it does, self-deprecating doesn't have to be insulting towards yourself. It's just like you recognize the things about yourself and are able to joke about it. It doesn't have to be something that is, like, yeah, this is the thing. If you have a disability or something that you can then own that and make fun of it. And I think that just being able to laugh in general, the dopamine that you get
Yeah.
from laughing, then you end up just being happier. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's kind of go down that road a little bit. The family that laughs together, the staff that laugh together, don't you feel like they build a better bond or there's trust there?
Absolutely. The biggest way to bond with people is to have shared experiences. And a lot of times the laughter comes from those shared experiences. So something crazy happens, something funny happens, and in the moment it might not seem funny, but I find that when you have an event that happens, it always ends up being funnier afterwards. And so you're able to laugh about it. Then you have these shared experiences with your colleagues that you can then be like, oh, remember that time that
Yeah.
this happened, or remember when we were working here and this happened. And you can, you're able to bond that way.
Yeah, a lot of times when I speak to past staff and we reminisce, a lot of it goes back to staff retreats when you're just having so much fun. It's not about the work or the grind or other things you're doing. It's always just that,
Absolutely.
it's hazing somebody on a staff retreat. Don't do that. I mean, the fun that you have when you go away together or on a conference, going away on a conference
Conferences,
together.
yeah. Traveling together, again, it's all shared
Yeah,
experiences. I think that is something that when I was in the military, you get these really strong bonds with people because you are living and working with them. And then in the Y, you have camp where you're living and working with people, and you end up having these really, really close bonds with people because you literally know what they look like when they're sleeping. Like
yeah,
and so you have these bonds that really you can't break those.
right. How would what advice to create a culture of laughter, for the lack of a better term, to just create that fun laughter within a team or within a branch or within an organization?
Well, it comes from the top, right? If you are a leader who shows their staff that you can laugh and that you are a human and that you can laugh at yourself,
Yeah,
then that's where it begins. If you are somebody who is stuffy and takes everything too seriously, then they're not going to feel like they can laugh with you.
yeah. I hope Dave Bird is watching this in Myrtle Beach because Dave has all this fun, and my staff will come to me and go, "You need to do what this guy's doing," and I'm knowing, no, I'm not crazy like Dave Bird. I'm not going to do that, but maybe we should, as the leaders, let our guard down and have a little bit more fun like that.
Well, it's also about being authentic, right? You have
Oh,
to you have to do what's authentic to you. So it's if it's I just everybody just needs to lighten up sometimes, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that's a challenge is sometimes we take ourselves a little too seriously,
Mhm.
and so just I think that's being vulnerable and showing your own humility
Yep.
uh, and just sharing yourself. That's great, it's great
And
stuff.
creating this psychological safety too.
Yeah,
You have to the people are going to be way more likely to laugh and joke around and be themselves and be authentically themselves when they know that they're not going to be judged by it or embarrassed by it or be like marked down on their annual review for it. So it is important for the leaders to model that behavior so that then the trust comes from their teams. And if you can laugh at yourself celebrating small moments of joy, then it gives everybody permission to do that same thing. And humor, it doesn't have to be forced. And sometimes it's just as simple as making space for other people to, as human beings, to be human beings and to create moments of laughter for their colleagues.
That's smart. That's brilliant, Kristen. Thank you for sharing that. What's a lesson that you've learned from being a stand-up comic that every leader should know?
Everybody fails. You
Yeah,
know,
that's great.
everybody bombs. Like they're you can tell the same jokes at the same venue 2 nights in a row and it'll land with one audience and not land with another. And so you are we are all just humans and we're all just doing our best, and really you just you'll live another day.
Yeah. I love watching comics get interviewed and talk about just going and practicing, doing 10 minutes here, whatever, walking into a club and just trying it, and how often they bombed and when they were successful, and just working on the timing of that. I love, in fact, I think a little bit of the podcast for me was from watching Jerry Seinfeld, comedians in cars having
Oh
coffee.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
was really what, hey, I want to start, I want to talk about stuff, I want to do that. And so, but I was afraid I would wreck driving and interviewing Kristen in my car.
The Eddie Murphy episode of that is fantastic because they talk about their beginnings of comedy.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people, when they get into comedy, they don't realize how much you have to practice. And they think that you just get up there and riff and, oh, these comedians, they look so natural doing it. And I was like, yeah, because they're practiced. Even when you are interacting with an audience and it feels like it's completely organic, a lot of times that stuff is practiced. And so it's and sometimes with the comedy students, they don't realize that you'll be telling the same jokes to the same people week after week, and that's just how it evolves.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a comic live one time that I'd seen their Netflix special or whatever multiple times. And it was word for word, timing for timing. I mean, they could have played them simultaneously and they were right on cue, you
Yep.
know. And
And
so you know how hard they work at that.
absolutely. And one another important thing in comedy is time, right? You show up on time, you be there on time, you'll have 7 minutes on the stage. They will cut the lights at 7 minutes. Like, and so you have to be respectful of everybody else's time and make sure that you are practiced and make sure that that, at 6 minutes when you get the light, you should be at this joke. And so it looks fun and easy, but it's really a lot of it is a lot of work. And but I really like the writing part of it, and so that part of the work really I find almost cathartic.
Yeah. Yeah. So a person that may be listening to this, or somebody that you may be coaching that's maybe stressed or overwhelmed, what's the advice that you would give them that they could bring more joy into their life or more laughter? How do they overcome maybe just the stress and the monotony that they're going through?
Oh man. You mean people at the Y are stressed and overwhelmed? What? Um
My hair was dark till about a year ago. No.
I feel like for me, a lot of times when I am overwhelmed, uh, it helps me to kind of pause and reconnect with the people that and activities that help me to reset. Laughter is not going to take the stress away, but I do feel like after you have a chance to joke around with a colleague or do something that makes you feel good, then it helps the stress. it's it doesn't make it go away, but it can create enough distance to help you think more clearly about it. So like a funny conversation with your colleagues, or sharing a laugh or with a friend is really something that I do to put things in perspective. You know, I also I sometimes I tell myself that like people aren't shooting at me while I'm working at the Y. Like like I'm not getting shot at right now. So really this I can handle anything.
Yeah.
So which is a totally absurd thing to say, but when you uh, are in the military, like it's about perspective, right? Like this is I'm I'm doing this, I'm safe, I'm in my office, I'm you know doing this to better my community, and that's the perspective that I need in order to go on with whatever is happening. I also feel like being able to trust my colleagues and my leaders really helps me to calm the anxiety that I have, because I tell people this all the time, but like Brene Brown said, that the opposite of anxiety is not calm. The opposite of anxiety is trust.
Hmm.
And so being able to trust the people that I work with and the organization that I work for really helps me in that, to be able to quell that stress.
Yeah. I think we need to be also, we need to be able to see when our peer is struggling
Mhm.
and to be able to be a smile to them, meaning, hey, let's go get coffee or let's do a lap around the building,
Yeah.
and to be able to help them smile a little bit and to relax or just to listen is another way. And don't be, I think the frustrating thing about that I've seen is the energy suckers.
Oh yeah.
The people that feed off the negativity or that bleed the negativity out and make it worse. But you want to be that person that gives energy and that also can spot when somebody may be struggling and go out for them.
I will say though that being able to, like, there's been studies shown that gossiping is actually helps because it releases dopamine. And so if you are able to have a trusted individual that you can, like, have your moment of negativity with, then you, a lot of times it just helps to be able to vent it. You're not
Yeah.
fixing it. You're not doing anything about it. You're just complaining to your friend and then like laughing about it and carrying on with your life. Like, so it just, I do think that that kind of support and having those conversations, whether or not they're meaningful or they're joking around or whatever, and and having that moment of laughter, it helps to take that mental break, you know, to get some clarity and get some space from what people are facing.
Man, that's such good stuff. When's the last time you've been on stage?
Last Friday.
Are you, we're recording this on a Friday. Are you on tonight
Oh
somewhere?
yeah. So it was, no, it was last Friday, so a week ago today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I had one of my Y colleagues was there, and we had some good laughs, and it was a good time.
That's it. We need, I need to, we're gonna have to talk. I'm gonna have to engage you a little bit with some people. We're gonna have to do, live on with you on stage in front
Yeah.
of some live people. And so,
Well, I the we just had our statewide YPN a couple weeks ago, and I led a session on leading without a script, and we used improv to be able
so
to
good.
work through some stuff that happens at the Y. And there's opportunity everywhere that we work in order to, and even just, so yeah, we're doing this leading without a script. It was improv based, and it was so funny and so fun, and everybody just left there. But you're also taking away these practical tips, like, say, being able to say yes and to your colleagues, like, so that you're not automatically shutting things down all the time. I think a lot of times as a leader, especially if you're overwhelmed or you're afraid that your people are overwhelmed and somebody comes to you with something, it's very easy to be like, no, we're not doing that. But to flip that and be like, yes, and we could do this, like, yes, and this is how we're going to do it. So it has very practical use.
Man, that's so good. You're such a great resource. I know for those wives, but hopefully other wives that are watching this, maybe we can find ways to get Kristen involved with us going. Let's
I try.
just get let's get to know you a little better. What's the funniest thing that's ever happened on stage?
Oh goodness. I Man, I was doing a show at it was a brewery, and there's a private party room, and the door to the party room was next to where the stage was. It was quite a large stage, and there was, I don't know, like a retirement party or something happening behind those doors, and these kids kept coming out, and they would come out and they would stand next to the stage and watch the comedy show. Well, our my stuff is usually pretty PG-13, but like I'm not going to swear a whole lot or anything. But if your little kids are there, they're going to get an education, and it's probably not the kind of education that you want them to get. And also, I another comedian friend of mine was on after me, who I know talks about some pretty racy stuff. And so I kept talking to these kids, and I was like, "Do you have parents here?" And so having unattended kids it was really funny. Again, it wasn't great at the time, but in retrospect, it was very funny.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, like I've tripped up the stairs going on stage. I've, stuff like that. That
What comedian makes you laugh?
oh goodness. I have seen a lot of really good comedy. And I really think that honestly, the funniest comedians I know are my children. Like they can deliver some zingers, and like they just have a way of making me laugh, especially when I need it most. And I just I I if my daughter's 15, and if she doesn't go into stand-up comedy, it will be a waste of energy for the entire universe. She is so incredibly funny. But all I have three sons as well. All four of them are just they crack me up all the time.
Well, I think there's a special knack for the comic writer that's in the background that writes for
Mhm.
late night talk show or sitcoms or whatever. That those people that are behind the scenes, they're just great. There's one I'm seeing a squirrel here, but her name is Laurie Kilmartin,
Mhm.
and I've learned about her because 20 years ago she did a blog about when she would travel, she would lap swim at YMCA's, and she critiqued all the YMCA lap swimming pools. And there was a month where it was Asheville, Charlotte, Raleigh. She was critiquing the Y pools, and so I've kind of followed her. I think she writes for Conan O'Brien, or had been in her thing. So I love writers. What's the movie that you could just watch over and over that always makes you laugh?
Coming to America.
You're not old enough to know that, to do
I
that.
absolutely am old enough to know that. I when I was growing up, we didn't have cable or anything like that, but we had these six VHS tapes, and it was like Coming to America, Cool Runnings, Can't Buy Me Love, Pretty Woman, uh, and um, and I watched those movies over and over and over again. And we had a Japanese exchange student living with us, and she said that the movie Pretty Woman taught her how to speak English because we just would watch it over and over.
Yeah.
I love Coming to America. I quote it all the time. It's become so ingrained in the stuff that I say that people don't even realize that I'm quoting it anymore.
That's so awesome. Well, you're so impressive. Thank you for spending 20 or so minutes with us today. I hope if you're watching this that this creates maybe some conversation among your peers. Look for the laughter, try to create some smiles, and listen to the tidbits that Kristen shared. Reach out to me and Kristen. I'll try to leave a email, or reach out to me and I can connect you with Kristen. But thank you again for being with us, and everybody that's watching, share this and remember to lead with love. Y'all have a great day.